Good evening. Damage assessment will continue into tomorrow as emergency managers get a handle on the destruction from yesterday's deadly storms. The National Weather Service now estimates the tornado that hit Brookport had winds of up to 145 miles an hour. 3 people were killed, but investigators said today there could have been a lot more fatalities considering the damage in that community. Power has now been restored in the town, but a curfew is in effect again this evening and runs until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The governor is in the community at this hour as part of a statewide fly-around to survey the damage. He has declared 7 Illinois counties disaster areas, including Massac and Washington counties here in our region. We have team coverage tonight from Massac County. Meteorologist Nick Housen, Fauna Haile Selassie, and Emily Finnegan have been there throughout the day today. We begin with News 3's Emily Finnegan live right now in Metropolis. Emily, what's the latest?
Well, Eden, as you said, things are dying down in Brookport for the evening. That curfew is now in place. As we were there throughout the day today, there were a lot of people out working to clear the roads in town, and also residents starting to sift through what's left of their homes, try to salvage any valuables. Now, many of the homes that were destroyed in that town were mobile homes that are just not built to withstand those very, very strong winds of the tornado. One of the families that we spoke with actually survived by leaving their trailer and taking shelter in a nearby creek bed. News 3's Nick Housen has their story.
Behind me was once Carolyn Lewis's mobile home, but because of great decisions by her and her family, they're still alive.
We're fixing to go out the door when my sister called and said that it had hit Brookport.
As the storm approached, she made a last-second decision to lead her daughter and grandkids to take cover under this bridge down the street.
The wind hit and knocked me and the baby to the ground, and I couldn't get up. Well, my daughter come up behind me and grabbed me and the baby, and her and the baby went in the creek. I kept grabbing hold of the limbs until I got underneath it, and just as we got underneath it, you could see the wind and hear the stuff above us.
They held on for dear life as the storm passed, then walked down the street to see the destruction. Lewis's mobile home is flipped into a tree and torn apart. The family's belongings are scattered in the backyard. Many of the neighbors' homes look the same, leaving her grateful this small bridge saved their lives.
I've lived here my whole life, and we knew it was there, and that was our basic plan.
Having a plan in place ahead of time is always a good idea, but it's even more important if you live in a mobile home, because simply waiting for a warning to be issued isn't always enough.
You should really have already taken action before the warning, even in the watch phase, especially if you see storms approaching 50, 100 miles away.
Rick Shanklin with the National Weather Service in Paducah was surveying damage this afternoon in Massac County. Much of the wreckage was from mobile homes.
There's no option except to leave the mobile home, period. Even if it's tied down on a block foundation, yes, those things help, but your plan of action should be to go to a much safer shelter nearby.
And having that plan in place and taking cover under this small bridge likely saved the Lewis family's lives. In Massac County, Nick Housen, News 3.
Now, Governor Pat Quinn arrived in Brookport just a few moments ago. He spent the day touring all of the tornado-ravaged areas of the state, including the 7 counties that he declared disaster areas today. The governor promises that the state will help all of those hard-hit communities with every asset possible, and he's asking people all across the state to come together as a family to support the communities that saw damage. Now, our Sam Jones is with the governor, and we'll have more on his visit coming up tonight on News 3 at 10. The National Weather Service says the tornado that hit Brookport was on the ground in Illinois for 11.5 miles. All those who had been missing are now accounted for, but the overall damage assessment is going to take some time to complete. News 3's Fauna Haile Selassie continues our coverage tonight.
As homeowners finally start to take in the scope of the damage, county officials are doing the same, but they say they'll need time to do a proper assessment.
It was just like a war zone out there. I mean, for a half-mile stretch, everything's gone.
Brookport is an old community filled with buildings that once withstood the test of time.
I've got it traced back to 1945. Some people says that this back part was here in 37.
But they could not withstand the power of Mother Nature. Kathadale Harris has owned what used to be the H&H feed store in Brookport for 27 years. But all that's left is a tangled mess of twisted metal. Now she and her family are trying to find anything they can salvage.
I'm just thankful that it was Sunday and I wasn't down here because I keep the grandkids down here too. And I would have had our 2-year-old with us.
It seems like this one that have Massac County officials telling people to stay out of the area because it's still too early to start the cleanup process.
Because we just can't put people in helping when we're dealing with having to get this damage assessed, because we can't also remove debris until we know what our plan is going to be.
But the assessment of the damage is well underway. Massac County Sheriff Ted Holder says those reports will then be used to get as much help as possible to area victims.
I've had the county commissioners with me. We're making assessments in the county right now to show them, what the citizens are going through out there.
Citizens like Harris, who would like another chance to beat out time with another feed store. Emergency officials say once they've completed the assessment, they'll organize a help station just like they did in Harrisburg in February 2012. We'll have more on that information as soon as it becomes available. In Brookport, Fauna Haile Selassie, News 3.
To help with the assessment process and eventually with cleanup, emergency management officials are asking all tornado victims to register tomorrow at the Brookport City Council chambers between 8 and 4. Now, those that had just damage to their homes were really the lucky ones in this storm. Many people were injured and 3 people were actually killed in Massac County. Today, we spoke with some of the victims' family and friends. 2 of those that died, 56-year-old Robert Harmon and 58-year-old Kathy George, both lived in the badly damaged Unionville area. Both were trying to take shelter inside their homes. Harmon's neighbors say that he was a good guy who loved motorcycles, and they say it's very sad to see his home now in pieces. The house where Kathy George and her husband Charles lived was actually picked up by the strong winds and scattered across the street.
It seemed like it always missed us, come close. But it got us this time. It got us good, too.
The third victim, 63-year-old Sholata Burris, was from the city of Brookport. She lived in one of the 2 mobile home parks that were hard hit yesterday. And today, the National Weather Service really repeatedly praised the response and early warning for this particular storm. They say the initial warning for the tornado went out at 1:52 p.m. yesterday, and the tornado actually hit Brookport at about 2:20, a half an hour later. So many people had time to take cover, and they say that saved a whole lot of lives. For now, live in Metropolis, Emily Finnegan, News 3.
It's been a busy 24 hours for hospitals in and around Massac County. Dozens of people injured by the tornado there were admitted yesterday evening, and many are still being treated at this hour. News 3's Matthew Searcy is live in Metropolis with that part of the story tonight. Matt.
Eden, 2 of the closest hospitals from here in Massac County are actually located in Paducah. A combined total of 24 patients were admitted to both Lourdes Hospital and Baptist Health Paducah, with many of those patients still being treated tonight. A deadly storm leaves behind not only debris, but plenty of injuries.
Some fractures to her back and head injuries. The way we understand, she was thrown about 200 feet from the trailer.
Brookport resident Donnie Hogue says his relative Norma Varvel is in critical condition after the tornado ripped through her home. One of several of his family members injured in the twister.
She's in critical care in Evansville right now, and some other family members I think are over in Paducah have some injuries, so it's hit a lot of our family.
With all the injuries, local hospitals are feeling the impact.
We started receiving patients relatively quick, and they came almost in a wave fashion.
At Lourdes Hospital in Paducah, 13 patients, all injured by the tornado, were admitted within a couple of hours late Sunday evening, forcing extra staff to be called in, says spokesperson David Simmons.
From minor stuff all the way up to some blunt force trauma and head injuries and large bone fractures.
7 Lourdes patients are still receiving treatment.
2 of whom are in critical condition. At nearby Baptist Health, 11 storm victims were admitted on Sunday, 2 of whom are also receiving critical care. And as the cleanup process continues, so does the risk of more injuries, as plenty of debris and hazards still remain.
There's folks, quite frankly, that might have got hurt last night in the storm, but are involved in still helping. So we're here for them, and we do expect to see them. We're ready for them.
But for people like Hogue, with relatives still injured, all they can do now is wait.
I've been trying to call family members. People are scattered at different hospitals, so you know, it's been really rough trying to cope with all of it.
And for Hogue, what makes this process even more difficult is the fact that he's already lost a family member in this storm. His wife's aunt was 63-year-old Shalata Burris, who was pronounced dead yesterday evening. Live in Massac County, Matthew Searcy, News 3.
Okay, Matt, thanks.